Hello, I'm the_Dab86, and today I'm going to be bringing you 15 tips to help you in your play with Dune Awakening. So the first tip I'm going to share is the first death to the worm is free. Basically, it says that your soul is empty and that you haven't accomplished anything. The thing to keep in mind here is what's going to happen is he's going to offer you a deal between either choosing to get your gear or a free bike. So you'll see here in just a second here, when it offers you to receive the sand bike, accept gift, do I reject your gift, I'll do without this help. You want to do that. You will not get your gear if you choose this one. You get your gear if you choose this one. It's terribly explained. If you don't, then of course you lose your gear. If it's early enough and your gear is junk, I'd recommend the sand bike. But if you were like me, who was in mostly Steel Plus, this would have been the way. He didn't get my bike because I was also parked up on the side, so I would have been perfectly fine for this. But once again, do not choose the bike. Choose I reject your gift, and you'll get your gear. You get your first death free to the worm. For this tip, I wanted to show you the spacecraft that you see fall out of the sky. They are lootable. So as you can see here, as I approach, you can see the green light that's right there. That is one of the things you can use your cutter to open. There's also one on top, and there is a small panel on the other side as well. So that way you can get all three. Now, the thing is, when you do cut the panel, it can block you from looting, so be mindful of that. You do have kind of a limited time. The worm will take notice of the spaceship and come forward eventually. So right now I'm safe, but you'll see here in a second, the worm's gonna get really agitated, not because of anything I'm doing, but because it's finally coming for the ship. I should have ran here. Of course, it did lead to me getting eaten, so do be mindful of that. And you'll see here where it blocks me from being able to loot, so I'm stuck here for an extra few seconds, and that could have made all the difference. For my third tip, I wanted to show you that there is a radio in the game, so if you hit O and then go to Communet, you have 4 choices of radio that you can choose to listen to. They're kind of as far as what you get, but that's not too bad. Maybe you need something to drive around and listen to, or when you're flying, but it gives you kind of some fun stuff to do and listen to there, rather than just ambient sounds. You just click it, turns it on. And then to turn it back off. For this tip, I wanted to show you that vehicle durability can be very deceiving. You can see here the different shades of orange and all the different pieces here. When I get out to repair it, you'll actually see that it's actually really not too bad. So like, we're not even at the halfway mark on this wing. Same goes for that. They're probably all the same durability. That one was, you know, a shade of orange. The other thing was that, I mean, even as brightly as red as it was, that's still not too bad. That's still like 25% remaining. So as you can see here, the wings, which were pretty orange, aren't even at the 50% mark. My scanner, which was pretty red as well, is only about the 25% mark. So you got to be mindful of that. I do recommend always carrying your welder with you, and you can make copper, or not copper wire, but with the welding wire on the fly. So that way, if you need it, it's accessible just from some scrap metal. Make it, you can repair as you go. I also recommend, of course, you know, bringing fuel with you as well. Make sure you're upgrading your gear as often as possible. Your basic knife is a 5.5. You upgrade to a 7.2 with just copper. And then up here, iron, it's gone up to a 9.0. And of course, when you go to steel, it's at a 16.4. So it quickly increases. And it's really easy to get a hold of materials for this stuff. Just be mindful of that, because if you're not upgrading your gear, you can quickly find yourself finding broken gear out in the wastelands that are actually, in fact, way better than what you're wearing. That actually brings me to my next tip. Certain items do require certain fabricators to be made, so do be mindful if you get all excited that now you're going to be able to build your buggy, that you're also aware that you do also have to come over here and unlock the vehicle's fabricator. If you jump over here all like mad and spend all your points on all the vehicle stuff real quickly, you may find out that you may not be getting that buggy as quickly as you thought when you have to come over here and also buy its fabricator. So do be mindful of that. It's also true with gear, as far as your craftables for harvesting and stuff like that, garments, and of course weapons. So do be mindful once you get to steel that you do want to have these to go along with the items that you will be unlocking. This next tip I wanted to show you. So of course, when you're out mining and harvesting, you've got your weight of your vehicle. You can fill this up to the 1500, but don't forget you also have your extra 150 here. You could toss another 150 into your slot. You do not count towards your vehicle storage weight or anything like that. So of course you've got your 150 and you've got the 1500 of your storage on the buggy. For classes, I recommend choosing either the Bene Gesserit, Swordsman, or the Mentat. I started with the Bene Gesserit purely because I wanted the Bindu Sprint in Haga Basin South. It's an amazing item to have as you're able to move a lot freely, a lot quicker across the desert up until you receive the bike. And I won't lie, the Compel is also a great weapon to use as a crowd control, especially early game, because you can pretty much take, let's say, the Swordsman out of the fight and kill the ranged, or vice versa. Now, if you've also watched my video for the class locations, Trooper will be right there in the first zone, very easy to get a hold of. Your Mentat's going to be there at Haga Rift, so they're also very easy to get to. Bene Gesserit you won't see until Helios Gate, and then of course Pinnacle Point will be your Swordsman. So these ones you won't see until way later with the Swordsman and the Bene Gesserit. The Mentat's a little bit earlier, not too hard to get to still. Trooper, I would, like I said, I'd recommend against that. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. So for this tip, I wanted to show you that water at first will be kind of hard to gather and all that. At first you'll be harvesting blood and of course putting it in here so that way it can be turned into water just like this. You're just going to deposit the blood that you've harvested and it will put in there and it will slowly trickle the water into it and you can gather it and drink it and do what you must. But once you get to iron, you're going to need to start harvesting it a lot more. So you're going to want to build Leader Johns. Of course, this is the upgraded version, so it's going to hold a lot more water. The original only holds about 1,000. And you'll get the Dew Reaper, which doesn't harvest well, but it'll allow you to get the water. Once you upgrade more, you'll of course be able to get the Dew Scythe, which is far superior to the Dew Reaper in my honest opinion. And of course, you'll be able to gather water and bring it in more. And as you progress the story, you'll also unlock the Freeman Death Still. Well, you'll be able to put a body in here. Do be mindful, you can't put a corpse in here if you have too much water already. It will basically not allow you to do it at all. So you'll just be sitting here wasting, time. And even with the blood, it's not going to do anything. You can deposit it, but it won't do anything until you actually start spending water. For this, you want to make sure that if you have a double door, I've already upgraded to a shield wall. You can do a double door that you would use for smaller vehicles. It will fit through it. You wouldn't think it could, but it will fit through that. Here's a demonstration of that. It doesn't look like it's going to fit, but it does. So if you want to be cheap and not build the shield wall, or you don't have, you should have the steel to do it since you built the buggy, but just in case if you don't want to, you can just do that and it will go out. Now, to keep in mind, if your still suit is full, make sure to drink it. However, if your water level is low, below where you can drink dew, drink the dew first and then drink the top level of your still suit. That way you're getting more water for your bang. And of course, if you're above that and you're running around, make sure you're drinking that if it tops off, so that way you're mitigating water and it lasts actually longer for your character. One of the biggest things that you're going to be doing is, of course, when you go to move from pretty much the first zone into the second area, whether it be Eastern Vermilius or Western Vermilius, is make sure you travel through what is known as the safe gap. Either side is a rise, which as you go over it, there is a slowdown to your vehicle, but right here is flat sand. It's going to be the safest and quickest way to get through there without a worm really bothering you. You probably will still get a worm eruption where it comes out, spooks you a little bit, but you'll be safe traveling through here. So do be mindful of that. Another thing I wanted to show you is suspensors. So as you progress through it, you of course get the ability to use suspensor belts. Make sure to be mindful of what suspensor belt you're wearing because they have different effects. For example, the first tier is your basic safe fall. That's all it really does. Once you go to the next tier, which is going to be the leap suspensor, this will actually give you a boost as you're climbing, or if you jump, it'll suspense you upwards. The next tier up is just a planar one, which basically just moves you left, right, front, and back, all those directions, but no longer gives you the upward boost. Once you go into the next tier up, which is the full suspensor, that kind of lets you do all kinds of movement, safe fall, left, right, up, down, you name it. And then, of course, as you tier up again, it's even more responsive of a planar sensor belt. So make sure you understand which suspensor belt you're wearing, because if you don't have the right one for the job that you're trying to do, you may find yourself falling to your death or slowly climbing a huge rock face and burning through a ton of stamina. So I also wanted to go over this as well. So this is quicksand in these areas that you see here with the slashes, and this is drum sand. Quicksand, if you drive into it, will slowly sink you. You will die if you do not get out of it. If you're in a vehicle and you don't get out of it, it will explode, which is just as bad. If you just touch it a little bit, that's not so bad. You'll be able to get out of it. But if you go in deep, you're probably best hopping off your vehicle and just salvaging what you can by saving yourself. Drum sand, though, basically driving through it sends out a huge amount of aggro that raises the chances of luring a worm. You can drive through it. Just be aware if it's going to be a long drive, you may end up triggering a worm and being more aggressive of one, and it may come straight for you and eat you. And then for our final tip, I don't want to go over for sandstorms. So you want to make sure you're either in a house when a sandstorm goes off, or you're somewhere that is considered enclosed. So like right now I'm considered unsheltered, but if I run over to this cave, I'm enclosed. So a sandstorm will not do damage to me or my vehicles while in here. You can also kind of cheat the system and get close enough to a building to be considered enclosed. Now, if you happen to be out in the waste and a sandstorm does happen to trigger, you can use your vehicle tool to pick up your vehicle, and then you can use your steel tent to put that down and climb in, which will protect you from the storm until it is over. And then once you get out, you just put your bike back down. Neither you or it took damage. Or you can also just stand there, pick up your bike, sit there and eat the damage. You'll probably have to self-revive, but then that way at least your vehicle didn't take any damage. Do keep in mind you cannot pick up the buggy, but you can pick up the ornithopter. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and come follow me on Twitch so you can see more Dune gameplay.